Yes, I would like to open it and thank Commander Anatoly Solovyev and Board Engineer Pavel Vinogradov for inviting us into their home for the last several days. They have been very gracious. They are a tremendous team. They work well together. They have taught us a lot, and we thank them for being so gracious. It requires an awful lot of teamwork to pull one of these missions together. To start with, of course, the rendezvous is not just the pilots or the crews, but all of the folks on the ground and the tracking stations all around the world to get the precise navigation required. By the way, I feel very confident that had the Mir lost attitude control, we still would have been able to dock with the teamwork that we have and that we've developed over the last several years. The teamwork started, of course, with our two crews once we got aboard, and we proceeded to transfer about 7,000 pounds worth of water, experiments, back and forth, up and down, and our most important transfer, of course, with the two crew members, bringing Dr. David Wolf up, and we'll return C. Michael Foale, Ph.D., after his successful stay up on Mir as soon as we leave. And by the way, I will not use Dr. Wolf's statement, but I love what he says when he closes each of his transmissions to the ground every night with his little statement about risk, and I'll let him say that a little bit later. But the teamwork that we have developed over the past several years in the Phase 1 program has enabled us to pull one of these kinds of missions together where we transfer so much equipment up and down. But it's not just these flights that requires an awful lot of teamwork. It's both space programs that have been working together as a team and learning from each other. The different programs have different requirements. They have different considerations. They use different techniques when they're performing spacewalks, when they're doing various things, flying around the vehicle, and we have different requirements. But yet it works together. Our vehicle has the capability of bringing equipment and experiments down. The Mir is the only game in town in the space station business, and they have been very successful over the past several years in performing experiments. And now we have the ability to bring some of those results back down to the Earth. And so it's a good team effort. This station is a beautiful station. I would like to also compliment the Russians on their resourcefulness, their ingenuity in designing the station, in building it, fabricating it, launching it, and extending it past its lifetime. They have done many experiments on board. We will now continue that with the Phase 1 program, and again, it is the only game in town. With the teamwork that we've developed in the last several years, we will continue that and bring it into the future and build the International Space Station. We have learned well together. We've learned to operate all of the coordination that we will use for the next several days as we perform the fly around will really help as we build the International Space Station. I would also like to compliment the Russians on their ingenuity. We still don't know where the leak is in the Spectre module, but shortly before our flight they sent over a lot of hardware that we brought up to help to identify the leak, and so hopefully we'll be able to help in that area tomorrow when we do the fly around. But if we don't, they'll perform several spacewalks over the next several months, and hopefully we'll be able to solve the problem and get the station back to its full capabilities. But if they don't, it's still a beautiful station, and David is conducting experiments. There are experiments going around in various parts of the station. He is making some great observations. He's very excited about it, and he makes sure that he shares them with all of us as we're getting the transfer operations done. So it's been an exciting 6 days, and we really thank the Russians for inviting us up here. And I guess I'll leave it at that and say it's been a great mission for us. We hope to be back on the planet here in a couple days, and we'll see David Wolf certainly when he comes back after 4 months, and hopefully he'll make some amazing findings and collect some more data, which eventually, put together with the teamwork of the private investigators down on the ground, the principal investigators on the ground, I think they have a good chance of making some amazing discoveries. So it's been a great mission for us, and we look forward to seeing you here in a couple of days.
Michelle Coyden with the Associated Press for Dr. Wolf. Now that you've been on Mir for a few days, is there anything you wish you had to make your stay more comfortable, or something you may have forgotten in the to pack in the mad rush to get there?
I would have brought 2 Wendy Lawrences. No. Really, one did an awfully good job. You should see that laboratory. It's very organized now. Honestly, I would have brought some more short pants with the Velcro and the Velcro pockets. They're real useful.
Mark Carreau from the Houston Chronicle for Mike Foale. In a brief and even, if necessary, subjective sense, could you sort of describe what you think your contribution was to the partnership?
Wow, well, I'm just glad for my own sake that I had a good time here, basically enjoyed myself. I learned new things. My mind was opened about a lot of things. And most important, I gained 4 very new, but very close friends who speak a totally different language from the one.
Я разговариваю на языке совершенно.
Special experience that I could really describe is to have learned a new language in the last 2 years and to have learned to communicate and be close to 4 people in such a way is something I had never expected as a physicist studying only science subjects in college. In terms of the experience in space, my contribution was really one of just being a member of a crew. And when we have people on board space vehicles, they are a crew, in spite of their accents, maybe in my case, or nationalities. And in that case, I think we should always think of the crew as a whole working together. And each person is contributing in their own way and the best they can to their abilities. I can number a number of little things that I did that I think were special, but I don't think they're very important in the big picture of the crew working together as a whole.
Pete Galtieri with the West Kentucky News. Colonel Titov, you've had a most distinguished career, some might even say legendary. What are your plans after this flight? Do you hope to fly again, either on Shuttle or with the Russian Space Agency?
Вопрос Титову. Все знают вас как легендарную личность. Каковы ваши планы после возвращения? Планируете ли вы дальнейшие полеты?
Good question. To
say that I don't know for sure, and I think nobody does know what I will be doing in the future. But I think when I return to Earth, there will be some results after this flight. There will be some plans, some implementation. But of course, I wouldn't want to abandon my work currently, because I feel I have quite a good experience, and this experience should be shared. When I come back, I'll think about it.
Муниципальное телевидение Подлипки, города Королёв, столица российской пилотируемой космонавтики.
From Korolev. My question to the Russian part of this big crew for Mr. Titov, Mr. Solovyov, and Mr. Vinogradov. Of course, everybody remembers what October 4th of 1950 means. You were small, you were between ages 1 to 10, but nevertheless, how do you evaluate this jump in the history of mankind? And do you anticipate such huge jumps, quality jumps in the future? Thank you for a good question. We have wonderful chance presented by the 2 crews, which is present at the Mir Atlantis complex, to congratulate all the citizens of Korolev with the upcoming holiday. This is a great holiday, which in 1957 probably shook the whole world. This is a fantastic event which happened on October 4th. The first Sputnik was launched, and many people which took part in this event still live in Korolev. With great pleasure, we congratulate the veterans and all the people who work in this area and all the citizens of Korolyov. And of course, I would like to wish them the best happiness, health, success in each family. I would like to add to these congratulations, and I would like to say that it would be difficult to expect in the nearest future such a jump. This was a special event, maybe only if we step on Mars, on any other planet. I think what was achieved 40 years ago was an exclusive achievement. Nothing can compare to the launch of a human into space. First of all, you were fading in and out. I would like for you to repeat your question, but I would also like beforehand to add my words to the congratulations of Anatoly and Pavel in regards to the holiday. Of course, Korolyov is connected to the names of many of our colleagues and to the names of people we don't know by name. But I would like to congratulate all of my wonderful colleagues with this wonderful holiday. But would you please repeat the questions? First question. Compare the functionality of the spacesuits during EVA, our Arlan and the American spacesuit, the benefits, the negatives, and the positives. And the second, to the commanders, brief results of the joint mission. As far as the Arlan suit and the American EVA suit, they are very similar functionally, and that is natural because they are for the same objectives. These suits assure 100% functionality for the work we have to perform, and that was proven during EVA. There are positives and negatives for both suits. The only thing I would like to say, the positive qualities of both suits, if they would be combined and one universal suit will be designed for the future space station, that would be wonderful. And I think many people would say the same.
The question was,
Can be said about the 2 programs is that they are complementary. It's incredible to me that the Russians went one way, we went a different way, and yet it's almost as if the 2 different designs were built that way intentionally, which they weren't. The Russians have a long history of space achievements. They have been on this space station for 11 years now, permanently inhabited. The Americans, on the other hand, have the capability to transport a lot of equipment up and down in the space shuttle, and so that complements the Russian program. The Russians are very resourceful. The American technology is pretty superb. I mean, our flying vehicle really flies very precisely. It's relatively easy to fly up and rendezvous with a space station and dock because the system is so precise. It is really that good, and it's a very nice flying machine when you come down and land. There are some problems that you need to make sure you stay away from. You don't want to land in bad weather, etc. But overall, the program is very technically competent. Both of them are very good programs. I think the safety records are very good, and I think that we're actually building on each other's programs, and I think together we're much better than if we do it separately. And that's the way certainly our nation has built itself on diversity, and I think together we can achieve greatness and someday go back to the moon and on to Mars.
If to summarize the results of this mission, or to say about the benefits of this mission, I wouldn't want to talk about how many tons of cargo has been delivered by the shuttle to the Mir. I wouldn't even talk about how much the pressure was raised inside the station. What I wanted to talk about is that the Atlantis is docked to Mir, and the most important thing is the two crews, American and Russian, are working together. And the most important thing is the desire to work together exists and is implemented. These missions very well demonstrated. For example, yesterday, we were observing two cosmonauts and astronauts working in the open space in order for the station to continue operating. For a few days, we worked with Michael Foale, also in spacesuits in the open space. And I think this is a wonderful, this is work which bears practical fruit. The station functions. Science results are achieved, and every day, month, year of the extension of the station operation brings practical results. In our opinion, we begin to understand how the future will have to work, how will we function in space in the future, what would be the positives and the negatives. I think that's the most important result of this mission. And the most important is that two crews are here on orbit. Question for Anatoly Solovyov. Could you please tell us, how do you evaluate the new onboard computer system operation? I can only say the words which we heard from the MCC. They just said, "Good job, guys, thank you." And I would like to distribute the satisfaction expressed by the MCC to all my friends who are working here. We installed the computer and it's working perfectly.
And we just want to say, be careful down there on Earth. It's awful close to the ground and somebody could get hurt.
The computer is up and running, and the crew of the shuttle Atlantis is saying so long. This hour, they'll close the hatch to the Mir space station, leaving behind astronaut Dave Wolf. He's all settled in for a 4-month stay on Mir, now armed with a new computer installed overnight. The shuttle undocks from Mir Friday morning. You're looking at live pictures of the space station now, and NASA officials have said that, told CNN that during their routine fly around of Mir, the astronauts will be taking a video and a still camera survey of the area damaged this summer during Mir's collision with a supply ship. A recent spacewalk failed to find where the hull is punctured.
Crew members gathered with their Mir colleagues on Thursday to say goodbye, then sealed the hatches for the trip home. Mir is in somewhat better shape than it was a few weeks ago, thanks to a new central computer and repair equipment delivered by Atlantis. The shuttle is to carry U.S. astronaut Michael Foale back to Earth. He's due back home on Sunday after a 4.5-month stay on Mir. The U.S. space shuttle Atlantis is scheduled to undock from Russia's Mir space station in just over 6 hours. After undocking, the shuttle is expected to circle Mir, searching for damage from the June collision with a cargo craft. Returning to Earth aboard Atlantis, astronaut Michael Foale, who spent more than 4 months aboard Mir. CNN's Dan Ronan reports.
The American and Russian crews held a last news conference, then shut the hatch after Atlantis finished its mission to Mir. The U.S. sent up a new NASA astronaut and delivered a critically needed new computer. The shuttle Atlantis picked up astronaut Michael Foale. His 134 days on Mir were anything but dull. June 25th, an unmanned Russian cargo ship hit Mir during a routine docking test, leaving the space station seriously damaged.
It became apparent that it wasn't a devastating puncture of the hull of Spectre module, and that we had time to work and try and isolate it.
A month after the crash, crew members said if the cargo vehicle had hit the Mir directly or much harder, everyone on board would have died. Mid-July, someone accidentally unplugged a cable, disabling the guidance system. The space station's ability to gather solar energy was severely curtailed. Within hours, the electric power, communications, and the oxygen system were barely operating. August 22nd, Fold assisted the two Russians as they conducted a dangerous internal spacewalk to repair some of the damage caused by the June 25th crash. The Russians reconnected cables in the Spectre module, while Fold waited in the Soyuz escape capsule, ready to evacuate everyone if something went wrong. There would be more problems with the computers in the oxygen system, and criticism mounted at NASA and in Congress. The charge, Mir had outlived its usefulness and was dangerous. September 6th, Fold and Anatoly Solovyov conduct a 6-hour spacewalk to inspect Mir's hull and look for punctures in the Spectre module, but they couldn't find any. But they did repair some of the damaged solar panels. Michael Foale now ends his sometimes harrowing 4.5 months in space. Would he do it again?
We never know when we could go into space as astronauts and cosmonauts whether this is our last flight. I sure do not want this to be my last flight. I want my bosses to hear this.
The Shuttle Atlantis with Foale on board is scheduled to land Sunday evening at the Kennedy Space Center. Dan Ronan, CNN reporting.
Atlantis hat in der vergangenen Nacht ihre Mission an der russischen Raumstation Mir beendet. Die US-Astronauten kehrten in die Atlantis zurück und schlossen die Verbindungsluken. Vor dem Rückflug soll die Besatzung der Atlantis noch einmal versuchen, aus der Nähe das Leck am Spectre-Modul der Raumstation zu finden. Bei einem Kontrollgang im All vergangenen Monat war dies nicht gelungen.
Astronauten feiern mit den Kosmonauten an Bord der russischen Raumstation Mir. 4 Monate lang arbeitete Mike Foales auf der Station mit russischen Kollegen zusammen. 3-mal reparierten sie den Zentralcomputer. Jetzt holt ihn die Crew der US-Raumfähre Atlantis wieder ab, im Austausch für David Wolf.
Atlantis crew members gathered with their Mir colleagues on Thursday to say goodbye, then seal the hatches for the trip home. Mir is in somewhat better shape than it was a few weeks ago, thanks to a new central computer and repair equipment delivered by Atlantis. We'll have live coverage of the undocking when it happens, scheduled in about 2.5 hours from now.
A 6-day rendezvous is about to come to an end. The space shuttle Atlantis is scheduled to disconnect from the Mir space station in about 2 hours. CNN plans live coverage. This is a 90-minute delay from the original plans. Atlantis will bring home U.S. astronaut Michael Foale. His replacement, David Wolf, is settled in with his new Russian space mates. He'll have the benefit of a new central computer delivered by Atlantis. But long before this time of U.S.-Russian cooperation in space, space buffs will remember the historic event that propelled Russia ahead in the space race with the U.S. CNN's Ann Kellan looks back 40 years at the launch of Sputnik.
October 4th, 1957, the Soviet Union quietly made history, shooting the first artificial satellite Sputnik into Earth's orbit.
We talk about the Sputnik. It is the same like the Christopher Columbus who discovered America.
Nikita Khrushchev's son Sergei was 22 at the time and remembers the thrill.
We were proud that we will be ahead of Americans. At last we will catch them.
Americans were stunned.
Oh, we figured that we weren't as great a nation as we thought we were.
Sputnik was the spark that set the U.S. space program in motion.
Our American colleagues got much more. They were given fresh money, chance for fresh starts.
1 year after Sputnik, the U.S. created NASA. The first U.S. astronauts became baby boomer role models. Science, math, physical fitness became priorities. And then President John F. Kennedy set the next hurdle.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things. Not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
And the rest, you might say, is history.
There is no more race anymore. There is nobody to compete with for United States.
Today, Raul Sagdiyev and Sergei Khrushchev live and work in the United States. Russians and Americans are sharing cabin space on board the orbiting space station Mir. And efforts are underway to build an international space station. And to think it all started with a little satellite named Sputnik. 40 years and a space age ago. Ann Kellen, CNN, Washington.
In etwa 1,5 Stunden koppelt die US-Raumfähre Atlantis von der Mir wieder ab. Vor der Rückkehr auf die Erde hat die Raumfähre noch einen letzten Auftrag. Sie soll die Mir umrunden und versuchen dabei, das Leck in der russischen Raumstation zu finden. Die NASA stimmte bereits gestern diesem Wunsch der russischen Kollegen zu. Bei einem Kontrollgang im September war es den Astronauten nicht gelungen, die Beschädigung zu entdecken.
Bereits in der vergangenen Nacht bereitete sich die Besatzung der Atlantis auf den Rückflug vor. Kurz nach Mitternacht wurden nach einem herzlichen Abschied die Verbindungsluken zwischen der US-Raumfähre und der Mir geschlossen. Atlantis nimmt den Amerikaner Michael Foale zur Erde zurück. Er war 4,5 Monate in der Mir. Ersetzt wird er durch seinen Landsmann David Wolf. Mit ihm ließ die Atlantis Frischwasser und eine Reihe an neuen Geräten zurück. Darunter auch den wichtigen Bordcomputer mit neuer Software. Durch den alten Rechner hatte es mehrfach Probleme mit der Stromversorgung gegeben. Erste Tests mit dem neuen Gerät verliefen nach russischen Angaben erfolgreich. Der Computer soll heute voll in Betrieb genommen werden.
Die Raumfähre Atlantis hat die Versorgung der Raumstation Mir beendet. Vor seiner Rückkehr zur Erde soll der Shuttle noch einmal die Mir umkreisen und dabei nach einem Leck suchen. Bei einem 5-stündigen Raumspaziergang hatte die Besatzung das Leck nicht finden können. Der Riss in der Außenhülle war im Juni bei der Kollision mit einer Versorgungskapsel entstanden. Atlantis kehrt am Samstag zur Erde zurück. An Bord der Raumstation bleiben 2 russische Kosmonauten und der Amerikaner David Wolf zurück.
Die Besatzungen der amerikanischen Raumfähre und der Mir haben sich voneinander verabschiedet. Der Astronaut David Wolf bleibt an Bord der russischen Raumstation. Er löst seinen Kollegen Michael Foale ab, der 4,5 Monate im All war. Nach dem Abkoppeln wird Atlantis die Mir noch einmal umkreisen, um Lecks im Spektrelabor aufzuspüren. Die Raumfähre soll morgen wieder auf der Erde landen.
Nach 6 Tagen gemeinsamen Schwebens kehrt die Atlantis dann wieder zur Erde zurück. Der Amerikaner David Wolf bleibt in der Mir. Er löst seinen Landsmann Michael Foale ab, der sich 4 Monate lang in der Raumstation aufgehalten hatte. Carsten Schmidt berichtet.
Wie in dieser Animation wird sich die Atlantis von der Mir trennen. 7 amerikanische Astronauten kehren dann heim von der 7. gemeinsamen Mission mit den Russen. Und die war höchst erfolgreich. Sicherlich der Höhepunkt, der 5-stündige Weltraumspaziergang. Bis auf kleinere Anfangsprobleme, der Amerikaner Parasinski verfing sich kurz in seiner Rettungsleine, klappte die amerikanisch-russische Kooperation in eisiger Kälte reibungslos. Zum ersten Mal trug ein Russe dabei einen Raumanzug der NASA, rund 3,5 Millionen Mark teuer. Der Clou: im Rucksack steckt ein Antrieb, der den Raumfahrer beim Reißen der Sicherheitsleine zum sicheren Hafen Atlantis zurückbringen soll. Doch die neue Technik musste nicht ausprobiert werden. Alles lief glatt. Große Harmonie daher auch beim abschließenden Gruppenfoto an Bord der Mir. Vor allem habe ich hier neue Freunde gewonnen, beschreibt US-Astronaut Michael Foale seine Gefühle vor dem Abschied. Sein letzter Gefallen für die Freunde: die Atlantis fliegt nach dem Abdocken noch einige Male um die Weltraumstation, um das Leck im beschädigten Spektrommodul zu suchen. Noch dankbarer dürfte der zurückgebliebene Amerikaner Wolf über sein eigenes Gastgeschenk sein: ein neuer Zentralcomputer. Der 10 Jahre alte Mir-Computer war mehrfach ausgefallen und hatte damit immer wieder für kritische Situationen gesorgt. Jetzt hoffen die Russen, gibt es wieder eine Zukunft für die Mir. Zumindest hat die Pannenraumstation erst einmal eine Atempause erhalten.
Shuttle and Russia's space station. Stay with us. Two ships passing in the night are taking leave of each other. The U.S. space shuttle Atlantis departing from the Russian space station Mir after 6 days linked together and dropping off a fresh computer and a new colleague for the cosmonauts. You're looking now at the pictures that we're getting from NASA. We are expecting to see some more of this in the moments to come. The two ships are still attached. Only moments ago we heard from NASA's own commentary that they were unhooking. And in a moment or two, we will come back and hope to bring you live pictures of the two ships moving apart. Stay with us. 6-day rendezvous with Mir. The two spaceships undocked about 10 minutes ago. Now Atlantis is to circle Mir, trying to spot leaks in the Mir Spectre module, which was damaged in June. Then astronaut Michael Foale will head home, leaving his replacement, David Wolf, who is scheduled to remain aboard Mir until January. Atlantis brought Mir a new computer and equipment for repairs. Now,
Space shuttle undocked from the Russian space station about 30 minutes ago. Atlantis was then to conduct a fly around Mir You can see now live pictures of it, of the Mir. This is an attempt as it flies around to see if the leak in the space station Spectre module. During the 6-day link-up, U.S. astronaut David Wolf traded places with Michael Foale. Foale is ending his 4.5-month journey on Sunday when Atlantis is scheduled to arrive back on Earth.
Die Raumfähre Atlantis hat sich vor wenigen Minuten von der Mir gelöst. In den vergangenen 6 Tagen hatten US-Astronauten ihren russischen Kollegen bei Instandsetzungsarbeiten geholfen. Als letztes wollen die Amerikaner nun die Weltraumstation noch umrunden und das Loch im Spectre-Modul suchen. Die Mir-Besatzung wird gleichzeitig Luft in das beschädigte Modul pumpen. Diese soll Eis, Staub und ausgelaufenes Shampoo ins All drücken und so das Leck sichtbar machen.
CNN's John Holloman joins us now with the latest on that. John, what have you learned?
Well, Sonia, I think what I have learned is that they are probably going to find the leak. Why don't you and our viewers inspect the Spectre module along with the shuttle crew? This is live picture coming down from a camera on board Space Shuttle Atlantis, and it's looking at the Spectre module of Mir. If you look just above the word Atlantis on your screen, you will see the damaged solar panel on Spectre. And if you look up almost dead center in your screen, you can see where that solar panel connects to the rest of the Spectre module. The flashing light is a docking light on the Mir space station, and the parts up at the top left of your screen that are flashing so brightly on your set right now are the 2 radiators on Spectre, where the astronauts and cosmonauts and Russian and American Mir managers suggested they might find the leak. They did a spacewalk about a month ago to see if there was any sign of a leak there. They found none, and so the next most likely candidate is that the spot where the solar panel connects to the Spectre module right in the center of your screen. What is going to happen over the next 60 minutes or so is this. At 1/2 this hour, the shuttle will begin to do something called a fly around the Mir. But the fly around is going to start at this position, and then about 30 minutes from this instant, the commander of Mir, Anatoly Soloviev, is going to pump some air into the Spectre module. As you know, there is a leak there. Any air they put in there, they know is going to be vented out into space right away. And what they hope will happen when they're pumping this air inside is that the air that they blow into there will pick up some debris and push it out at the point where Spectre is leaking. They assume the point will be that same spot in the middle of your screen where the solar panel is connected. If that, in fact, does occur, then they'll know where the leak is. Coming up on the 16th of October, the Mir crew members will conduct another spacewalk inside Spectre. They hope that they will be ordered on that spacewalk to go to the other side of this area where the solar panel is connected and start putting in some material to seal the leak, if, in fact, that is where it is located. So, Sonia, that's what's going on in space right now. Coming up in 30 minutes, we ought to have a better view of this, and we ought to know a lot more about that solar panel, and if that is the spot where the leak is located, there is equipment now already mounted to the outside of Mir to fix the leak from the outside if the cosmonauts can do an identical job of fixing it on the inside. That's where things stand. Sonia?
John Holloman.
A fly-around of the Russian space station Mir by the U.S. space shuttle Atlantis ended a few minutes ago. And astronauts believe they found what they were looking for, a leak in Mir's Spectre module. The Mir crew blasted air into the module, forcing debris out through the leak. Atlantis astronauts spotted the place where the debris came out. The Spectre module was damaged in a June collision with an unmanned cargo craft. Earlier, Atlantis separated from Mir as both craft flew over southeastern Russia. The undocking was delayed for a time to give Russian ground controllers time to test a data relay unit.
CNN's John Holloman has been keeping up with the action and has this report.
Space Shuttle Atlantis is separated from Mir, and the crew now has an easy day after a tough week in orbit. The most dramatic pictures of the mission were beamed to Earth as the shuttle slowly flew around Mir, looking for the leak in the Spectre module. All the shuttle crew members who were not busy flying Atlantis were taking pictures of Mir out the windows. The full complement of shuttle cameras, both still and video, were pointed out every possible window on Atlantis. The pictures will be examined frame by frame back on Earth, but it seems the fly-around did what it was supposed to, because when Mir commander Anatoly Soloviev pumped air into Spectre, debris was seen flying out into space from the spot where Mir's damaged solar panel is attached to the Spectre module.
Titov reporting some particles emanating from the base of the solar array.
The Mir crew will conduct a spacewalk in about 2 weeks, when it will go back inside Spectre and take another look at ways to fix the leak. On Wednesday, the shuttle supplied Mir with a cap to put over the solar panel joint, and it could be installed over the leak. The Atlantis crew will get to take things much easier for the remainder of this flight. There's lots of time to look out the window and watch the Earth since Mir has finally slipped out of sight. John Holloman, CNN Atlanta.
The launch stunned the United States, and it scrambled to catch up, not only in rocketry, but in math and science education. And several years later, it led President John Kennedy to commit the U.S. to landing a man on the moon. Well, our guest has written a book about the inside story of the Sputnik launch and about the agendas that drove the Cold War. Jeffrey Robinson joins us now to talk about the end of the American century, hidden agendas in the Cold War. Jeffrey Robinson, thanks very much for coming in. First of all, what was the atmosphere like when Sputnik was launched?
Scary. That's the easiest way I can say it. It was a great era of paranoia. We in the United States were afraid that they would strike first, and they, to give the dog their due, were afraid that we would strike first. As it turns out, Eisenhower, as president, had locked in the White House safe plans for a preemptive strike on the Soviet Union and the occupation of Europe, because he didn't trust the French. So we were living in an era of enormous paranoia where anybody could push the button, and people almost did.
So how big a deal was this? I mean, is there anything comparable today? Because it doesn't sound like there was, I mean, this is not celebration. This is not like landing a man on the moon. This was just fearful, right?
Well, this was something even more, because if you look at the headlines that ran around the world 40 years ago this weekend, very few of them proclaimed Russian victory. Most of them proclaimed American defeat. And it was the first time America had ever lost anything. I mean, we claimed to have won all the world wars and everything else. America suddenly lost. And what's more, the Russian communists proved capable of doing something that we couldn't do.
Is that why you call your book The End of the American Century?
Well, Henry Luce called the 20th century the American century because we had emerged as the great model of democracy and the richest, happiest, most peaceful nation, if you will, on Earth. Sputnik put an end to that. Sputnik defeated us. Sputnik proved for one brief moment that Soviet communism worked. And this was at a time when Khrushchev was saying, "We will bury you." Suddenly he put Sputnik up and proved he could do it, or at least we thought he could.
Yeah, but at the same time, both he, Khrushchev, and Eisenhower were both very dismissive of the whole thing. I mean, how could they have been so wrong?
Well, neither one of them quite understood what was going on. It was the work of a dreamer, a man named Korolev, who really wanted to do it. He was the man who was designing the Russian ICBM missiles. His job was to get a missile from the Soviet Union to New York to blow us up. Well, he went to the Russian army and said, "Oh, by the way, I want to put a satellite into space." And they said, no, we're not interested in satellites. It's just not our thing. We want an atomic warhead. And he said, "No, I really want to do it." And they told him no. Well, he had access to Khrushchev, so he went to Khrushchev personally, and through the sheer force of his personality said, "Please let me do it." And Khrushchev said, "Well, okay, you can do it, but don't screw up the missile." On the night that it happened, when they finally called Khrushchev and said, "It's up there, and it's going around, and it's going beep, beep, beep," Khrushchev said, "Frankly, I never thought it would work," hung up the phone and went back to sleep. It wasn't until 2 days later when he realized that America had panicked, totally panicked, that he told James Reston of the New York Times, "We have hundreds of more Sputniks ready to go." It was a sheer lie. He was a poker player, and he suddenly found himself with a royal flush. He lied.
So how did Sputnik change history?
It changed because Eisenhower knew Khrushchev was lying and didn't call him on the lie. About 2 weeks after it went up, Eisenhower had a chance to say to America, look, we have pictures of the Soviet Union. There are no more missiles. Don't worry, this has no military significance. And up to 5 o'clock on the night of his press conference, he intended to show the U-2 spy pictures, the U-2 spy plane pictures. At 5 o'clock, he changed his mind and didn't. Had he shown them, had he gone to the world and said, look, here are the photographs, we know the Russians are lying, there would have been no U-2 crisis at the end of his presidency in which Khrushchev caught him in a lie. Richard Nixon, then the vice president, would not have been forced to defend the Eisenhower policy on Sputnik and the Eisenhower lie on the U-2, and probably, almost certainly, would have defeated John Kennedy in 1960. From there, the entire world changes.
So there was a lot more than national pride at stake.
There was a great deal more than national pride. First of all, there was a great scientific feat. You know, it's wonderful. We see the Mir and the Shuttle up there, and they're wearing each other's clothes, and they're using each other's tether. This is a strange world 40 years later. That was a total piece of science fiction 40 years ago. I mean, they put up a steel ball that weighed 84 kilos and got it to go beep, beep, beep. And that was a major achievement, to the point where the Nobel Prize Committee wanted to award Korolev,
who was never heard of.
He was never heard of, and Khrushchev refused the prize because he would have to name Korolev.
So is there any particular anecdote in this book that's your favorite?
I love the one about the fact that about 3 months before the Sputnik went up, and that's all the project was. It was only a 3-month project. Korolev only had that time to do it. About 3 months before, an order came to Britain for 6 Mercury batteries. And the CIA realized after the launch that it's very likely the Russians ordered the batteries that powered Sputnik's radio from Britain, and that the words "Made in Britain" went into space before "Made in USA."
Something to remember. Jeffrey Robinson, thank you very much for joining us. And now we go back to Judy.
Just fascinating.
Nach dem Abdocken der Atlantis von der Mir war es den Astronauten gestern gelungen, die Lecks zu lokalisieren. Während die Mir-Besatzung Luft in das Spektermodul pumpte, umkreiste die Atlantis zweimal die russische Raumstation. Dabei konnten die Amerikaner sehen, wie unter einem beschädigten Sonnensegel kondensierte Luft und kleine Schrottteile ins All entwichen. Gleich weiter jetzt zu meinem Kollegen Rainer Munz im Raumfahrtzentrum Koroljow bei Moskau. Rainer, die Lecks sind gefunden, das ist ja schon mal eine große Erleichterung. Aber welche Schwierigkeiten können auf die Kosmonauten bei der Reparatur noch zukommen?
Also was da alles auf die Kosmonauten zukommt, das kann auch hier im Kontrollzentrum überhaupt niemand voraussagen. Denn eine solche Reparatur, die wurde in der Geschichte der bemannten Raumfahrt noch niemals zuvor versucht. Also am 20. Oktober wird man wirklich Neuland betreten und dann wird man erstmal von außen mit einer Abdichtmasse versuchen, das Leck zu schließen. Später wird man das Gleiche dann von innen versuchen und dann wird es eigentlich wirklich erst richtig spannend. Denn dann wird man Sauerstoff in das bisher abgeschottete Spektromodul pumpen. Und dann kommt die große Frage, hält das Spektromodul oder fliegt der ganze Laden den Kosmonauten wirklich um den Kopf? Also, da wird man sehr vorsichtig vorgehen müssen. Und wieder wird dann, wie schon in den letzten 40 Jahren, die Improvisationskunst der Kosmonauten gefragt sein. Und heute vor 40 Jahren, genau heute vor 40 Jahren, da begann ja die ganze russische Raumfahrt mit dem Start des ersten Satelliten der Welt überhaupt, mit dem berühmten Sputnik. Auf Deutsch übersetzt heißt das übrigens Begleiter. Und wie das gefeiert wurde und wie das vor 40 Jahren ausgesehen hat, das schauen wir uns jetzt in dem folgenden Beitrag an. So richtig Stimmung kam bei Russlands Raumfahrtelite nicht auf. Das Modell des historischen Sputniks vor Augen dachten die Experten wohl vor allem an die aktuellen Mir-Pannen. Aber vor 40 Jahren, da war die damalige sowjetische Raumfahrt Weltspitze. Am 4. Oktober 1957 startete Sputnik. Der erste Satellit war auf dem Weg ins All. Die kleine Kugel mit gerade mal 58 cm Durchmesser wog 83,6 Kilo. Mehr als dieses Beep sendete Sputnik allerdings nicht. Kein Vergleich mit den modernen Kommunikationssatelliten. Heute versuchen die Russen aus 40 Jahren Erfahrung Kapital zu schlagen. Ihr Preis für den Start von zivilen Satelliten ist bis zu $20 Millionen günstiger als im Westen. Und zusammen mit den Amerikanern bereiten die Russen wieder eine Weltpremiere vor. Eine schwimmende Raketenabschussrampe, die im Pazifischen Ozean stationiert wird und ab Mitte 98 einsatzfähig ist. Ihre eigenen Satelliten aber lassen die Russen verkommen. Etwa 60% der 42 zivilen russischen Satelliten haben ihre Ressourcen erschöpft und müssten schnellstens ersetzt werden, warnt Raumfahrtkenner Baranowski. Falls das nicht geschieht, dann bleiben die Fernsehschirme in Sibirien in den nächsten Jahren dunkel. Aber dazu wird es wohl hoffentlich nicht kommen. Wahrscheinlich ist es, wie so häufig hier in Russland, so, dass kurz bevor gar niemand mehr an eine Lösung glaubt, doch noch irgendwie improvisiert wird. Und dann klappt es am Ende irgendwie doch noch.
Dankeschön, Rainer Munz nach Moskau.
Welcome to an exclusive preview of Star Trek: The Experience. The cost to build it, $70 million, much of it for sophisticated computer-controlled rides and other entertainment.
What we were looking for with Star Trek: The Experience was to create an interactive adventure, something that people could come and be a part of based on a story that they were familiar with, Star Trek. It's interactive entertainment. It's not a stage show, and it's much more than a theme park. It's a chance for people to actually become part of an adventure.
This particular starship is an enterprise that includes, no surprise, the Space Quest Casino, as well as a bar, restaurant, shops, and live actors in Star Trek garb, all part of the experience. It's still under construction at the Las Vegas Hilton with a planned opening later this year. The idea behind Star Trek: The Experience is to boldly go where no casino hotel has gone before. It's a high-tech show that combines computers, images, and actors in a new way. The centerpiece of the attraction, a computerized shuttlecraft that takes visitors into space with a warp-speed movie on a giant cone-shaped screen. The action is seen from a 27-seat shuttle car that moves in 6 directions, sometimes all at once. It's based on motion simulators used by the U.S. military to train fighter pilots.
It uses an enormous amount of technology from the military simulation and civil simulation industry. In fact, our company has produced products in the training systems market for the last 30 years. And over the last 5 years, we've been applying those to entertainment. Everything about this show is under computer controlled and integrated with the master show control computer.
As for the story, the show creators are keeping a few things secret.
You're expecting to go on an attraction, on a ride, and at an unexpected moment, you get beamed up to the Enterprise and have to return to Las Vegas. I won't tell you much more than that, but you basically disappear. You go out and take an adventure in the future.
The hotel hopes to have the Star Trek attraction ready for the crowds generated in November by the world's largest computer show, Comdex. Dick Wilson, CNN, Las Vegas, Nevada.
Space Shuttle Atlantis will be making its descent this time tomorrow if all goes according to plan. Atlantis crew members spent today checking the ship's landing systems and packing up for the return. One astronaut particularly anxious to get back to Earth is Michael Foale, who has spent the last 4.5 months aboard the Mir space station. CNN will have live coverage of the shuttle landing. It is scheduled for 6:58 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. That's 3:58 Pacific. And now we'll look at the weather with Byron Miranda. Byron.
Gene, I think right before you go to work tomorrow, you can get in some sun tanning, believe it or not, from D.C. all the way down to Atlanta. Take a look at the radar summary map right behind me. High pressure dominating the eastern half of the nation. And that's why it's quiet. And you can see nothing going on, just a little bit of rain over into Florida. One frontal system across the midsection of the U.S., bringing the possibility of thunderstorms through the Ohio Valley later tonight. But right now, nothing to speak of. The big state of Texas in the southeastern section, you see yellow lights there. Can you make that out? Well, that indicates thunderstorm activity. The rest of the state, from Lubbock all the way to the southwest towards Las Vegas, to Southern California, through Northern California, nothing.
Der Shuttle wird in der Nacht zum Montag zurückerwartet. Zur Mannschaft der Atlantis gehört Michael Foale, der 4,5 Monate lang auf der Mir verbracht hatte. Er wurde durch den Astronauten David Wolf abgelöst, der jetzt an Bord der russischen Raumstation Mir bleibt.
The U.S. Space Shuttle Atlantis is heading home. It's due to land at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida Sunday evening. It's bringing back astronaut Michael Foale, who spent 4.5 troubled months aboard the Russian space station Mir. We plan to bring you live coverage of the shuttle's landing that is set for about 2300 GMT on Sunday. Atlantis is returning from a rendezvous with the Russian space station Mir. The shuttle is also bringing back to Earth British-born astronaut Michael Foale, who was on board Mir for almost 5 months. During its mission, Atlantis brought to Mir a new computer, batteries, drinking water, and repair gear, of course. You can watch the shuttle as it lands at Cape Canaveral in Florida live here on CNN in just under about 7 hours.
Amerikaner und Russen Seite an Seite im All, das war früher undenkbar. Fast auf den Tag genau vor 40 Jahren hatten die Russen die Nase vorn. Am 4. Oktober 1957 schickten sie den ersten Satelliten ins All. Sputnik, auf Deutsch Weggefährte, der Beginn einer spannenden Entwicklung. Mick Locher über 4 Jahrzehnte Weltraumfahrt.
Sputnik 1, ein 83 Kilo schwerer russischer Radiosender. Sein Funksignal im All löst 1957 einen gigantischen Technologiewettbewerb aus. Jahrelang haben die USA das Nachsehen, auch als die Russen im April 61 zum ersten Mal einen Menschen in eine Erdumlaufbahn schicken. Fliegeroffizier Juri Gagarin umrundet in einer fensterlosen Vostok den Globus. 1962 bejubeln die USA dann John Glenn, ihren ersten Amerikaner im All. 1965 wagt Ed White den ersten Ausstieg. Mit einem reißfesten Luftschlauch, mit seiner Gemini-Kapsel verbunden, rast er 20 Minuten durch den Weltraum. Dann, im Juli 1969, erreicht der erste Mann den Mond. Apollo 11-Kommandant Neil Armstrong landet mit der Fähre Adler im Meer der Stille. Moonboots, Mikrochips und Teflon sind Teile der Ausrüstung, werden weltberühmt. Die Apollo-13-Besatzung schrammt ein Jahr später an der Katastrophe vorbei, als ein Sauerstofftank auf dem Weg zum Mond platzt. Nur mit Glück klappt die Rückkehr zum Heimatplaneten. Der letzte Mann auf dem Mond ist 1972 Geologe Harrison Schmitt. Wir entdeckten dort Energiereserven, die eines Tages noch wichtig für uns werden könnten. Damalige Gesamtkosten der Mondmissionen 25 Milliarden US-Dollar. An Bord der sowjetischen Saljut-Basis ist DDR-Militärpilot Sigmund Jähn 1978 der erste Deutsche im All. 8 weitere Astronauten folgen in den Orbit. Die größte Katastrophe der Raumfahrt dann 1986. Die Challenger explodiert nach dem Start. 7 Menschen sterben. Dennoch, Mut bleibt gefragt, ob an Bord der russischen Mir oder auf der künftigen Raumstation Alpha. Denn die Menschheit wagt neue Schritte. 2017, genau 60 Jahre nach dem Sputnik-Start, soll der erste Mensch auf dem Mars landen.
Homeward bound after its rendezvous with the Mir space station, astronaut Michael Foale is aboard the shuttle. He's coming home after a 4.5-month stint on the Russian space station. CNN will bring you live coverage of the shuttle landing. That's at 6:59 p.m. Eastern tonight.
Florida's Kennedy Space Center in a couple of hours on board the U.S. space shuttle Atlantis after what has been a troubled 4.5-month mission on the Russian space station Mir. Flight controllers at Mission Control in Houston said they expected conditions to be pretty good for his homecoming.
But NASA has told the crew to delay landing for about an hour and a half because of rain showers and low clouds. Joining us in Atlanta for a preview of the shuttle landing is CNN's John Holloman. John.
Gene, you'll remember when we talked about an hour ago about this, we said the weather was looking a little bit iffy. Well, it's looking a lot iffy now. Shuttle Atlantis has been told to stay up for an extra 94 minutes. The prospect for unacceptable landing weather is responsible for what NASA calls a wave-off of the landing originally scheduled for an hour from now. This picture from just a few seconds ago showing the launch pad at the Kennedy Space Center, and you can see on that picture what's up in the sky, which is a lot of clouds, and that's what caused the trouble. An hour ago, it was raining at the shuttle landing strip in Florida. Shuttle won't land in the rain. There was also a layer of clouds about a mile above the approach path that Commander Jim Weatherby will have to steer through to get Atlantis back on the ground. That's a violation of flight rules for the shuttle as well. The third weather problem involves the crosswind at the landing strip. It has been blowing from the east at 9 knots, gusting up to 15 knots. The limit on winds for a crosswind landing is 15 knots, so that too complicated the landing. If the weather improves in the next hour, the shuttle will land at 8:36 Eastern Time and the sky will be dark. It's always an interesting landing picture, and it makes it more difficult to bring the shuttle in on time. Astronaut Ken Cockrell flying the shuttle training airplane designed to handle just like Atlantis, doing takeoffs and landing at the strip. This is not the shuttle training airplane, of course. This is the flight deck of Shuttle Atlantis itself, seen a little while ago as some crew members were drinking liquid, getting ready for the landing. Weather conditions on the ground are being reported. CNN's producer Rich Phillips is on the ground at the Kennedy Space Center. Rich, what's it look like out there right now?
Well, John, things appear to be getting a little bit better here. Those low-lying clouds that you just spoke of, which have basically covered the Kennedy Space Center area all day today, are only now beginning to move out of the area. Crosswinds are also expected to be a little bit lower when NASA has that second opportunity at 8:36 p.m., and that's when they're hopeful Atlantis will be on the ground. John?
Yeah. Okay, Rich, thanks a lot for keeping us posted. We'll check back with you as we get closer to the new landing time. Also in the news today, another spaceship is on the way to the Russian Mir space station. An unmanned Progress supply ship stuffed with computers, fuel, and water took off this morning. Pretty spectacular liftoff. It's going to dock tomorrow, and the Mir crew, including new astronaut visitor Dave Wolf, will begin unloading all those supplies. Again, Atlantis lands at 8:36 tonight. If the weather continues to improve, we will watch it together. Gene?
John Holloman, thanks. And John will join us again when CNN brings you live coverage of the shuttle landing scheduled for 8:36 p.m. Eastern.
An unmanned cargo ship that docked with Mir has failed to undock for unknown reasons, according to Russian space officials. The problem comes just one day before another Progress resupply ship, which was launched on Sunday night, is due to bring much-needed supplies to the Russian space station. Moscow officials say the Mir crew will attempt the undocking maneuver once again in the coming hours. And anxious to return home after 4.5 months aboard Mir, astronaut Michael Foale must wait a little longer. Cloudy skies at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida forced NASA to postpone Foale's return to Earth by at least one day. Weather permitting, the Atlantis crew will try to return to Florida later in the day.
NASA has a 2-hour window later Monday in which to land the shuttle at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, but cloud cover and high winds at the landing site could force Atlantis to remain in orbit for yet another day. Bad weather postponed the shuttle's scheduled return on Sunday. Atlantis is bringing home astronaut Michael Foale, who spent 4.5 months aboard the Russian space station Mir.
Hello, it's John Holloman at the CNN Center in Atlanta, welcoming our viewers around the world to our coverage of the landing of Space Shuttle Atlantis. That landing scheduled to take place 2 minutes and 28 seconds from right now. The view you are seeing is of the shuttle on an infrared tracking camera. It is still steamy hot from having come through the Earth's atmosphere. The outer skin of the shuttle heated up to a temperature well above 600 degrees. The shuttle has been gone for 12 days, and while it was away, it accomplished a lot. The most important event for NASA was delivering David Wolf to Mir and picking up Mike Foale for the trip home. Foale's 4.5-month stay was filled with troubles, which we've talked about, most notably that wreck in space, which caused a leak in the Spectre module, which U.S. astronauts have used as a lab and a living space for some time. During the trip, the Atlantis crew unloaded tons of supplies for Mir, including a new main computer. The old Mir computer was failing regularly, leaving the space station without guidance and power. The new one has been working perfectly since it was installed last week. Also during the trip, the shuttle took pictures of Mir, which helped find the leak in Spectre. Commander Anatoly Soloviev pumped air into Spectre as the shuttle hovered about 240 feet away. As he did this, some debris drifted into space from the area where Spectre's damaged solar array connects with the station. As you look at these pictures and compare them with pictures of previous shuttle launches that we have reported for you, you're probably saying to yourself, as I am, my goodness, it looks a lot more cloudy there than it normally does on days when NASA allows the shuttle to land.
On center line, surface winds 0807 gust 15.
I think that's the truth, just based on my observation of 20 or 30 shuttle landings over the past 5 or 6 years.
Communicator Scott Horowitz says Commander Jim Weatherby continues to steer Atlantis towards runway 15. Shuttle now lined up for a touchdown.
Shuttle is landing from north to south.
Altitude now 3,500 feet. At about 2,000 feet, the pre-flare maneuver will be performed.
The voice that you're hearing is NASA commentator Ed Campion, watching this with the rest of us. He is in Houston.
Pre-flare maneuver being performed. Landing gear coming down. Confirmation gear is down and locked.
You can see the center line of the runway just between those wheels on the shuttle.
Main gear touchdown. Nose gear touchdown. Deployment of the drag chute. Atlantis now rolling out on runway 15 at KSC, ending an 11-day, 4.2 million mile journey to deliver astronaut David Wolf to the Mir space station and bring astronaut Michael Foale home after 145 days in space.
What we'll do is we'll listen as the shuttle rolls to a stop. I can tell you a little bit more about what it did until wheels stopped, and then we'll hear Commander Jim Weatherby. Imagine what it must feel like for Michael Foale, a man who has weighed virtually nothing for the past 4 months and 3 weeks.
Atlantis, you can ignore the water spray boiler message.
That was a warning in the cockpit.
Roger.
Commander Jim Weatherby saying he knows to ignore that warning. But Mike Foale now weighs his full weight for the first time in a long, long time. His wife, Rhonda, his 2 children, some pizza and beer awaiting him at the astronaut crew quarters down in Florida. Atlantis now rolling to a stop, and there'll be a little back and forth between ground managers and the shuttle as soon as it stops.
Wheel stop, Houston. Copy, wheel stop, Atlantis. Welcome home, excellent job. Nice crosswind landing. We have no deltas. We're with you on page 5-3.
No deltas is NASA speak for everything on the computer consoles in Houston. Looking good. No problems, no red lights. Everything continues to be safe and copacetic. You can see how quickly the NASA ground crews respond to a landed shuttle. There's a machine out there that
Atlantis,
will,
we'd like you to do ammonia activation on 5-8. Ammonia, Bravo, Pri GPC.
What they're doing is blowing out the pipes on the various rockets and thrusters of the shuttle.
Pri GPC.
And you can hear the crew talking about that. At any rate, as the shuttle has pulled in for a landing on the south-pointing runway at the Kennedy Space Center, it's traveled 4,225,000 miles. Beautiful landing. We will watch with much interest to see how Mike Foale readapts to life on planet Earth. That concludes our coverage of the landing of Shuttle Atlantis after 11 days in space and a very important mission, including a docking with Russia's Mir space station. John Holloman, CNN reporting.
This has been a CNN Live event.
Vor wenigen Minuten ist in Cape Canaveral in Florida die amerikanische Raumfähre Atlantis gelandet. Die Atlantis war 6 Tage an die Raumstation Mir angekoppelt und hatte mehr als 4 Tonnen Ersatzteile und Verpflegung mitgebracht. Nach ihrem Abdockmanöver hatte sie auch noch das Leck in dem Weltraumlabor gefunden. Die Fähre sollte ursprünglich schon vergangene Nacht landen, der Termin musste aber wegen schlechten Wetters auf heute Nacht verschoben werden.
Nach Verspätung ist die US-Raumfähre Atlantis sicher in Cape Canaveral gelandet. Sie hatte unter anderem den Astronauten Michael Foale auf der russischen Raumstation Mir abgeholt. Außerdem hatte die Atlantis wichtige Ersatzteile zu Mir gebracht. Dort gibt es erneut technische Probleme. Die für heute geplante Ankopplung des Raumtransporters Progress M36 muss verschoben werden. Die Besatzung konnte das Vorgängerraumschiff bislang nicht von der Andockluke abkoppeln.
Der Besatzung der Mir ist es bisher nicht gelungen, den Progress-Raumtransporter von ihrer Station abzukoppeln. Sie hatte vergessen, eine manuelle Schließvorrichtung zu entfernen. Deshalb muss der zweite Versorgungstransporter mit dem Andocken bis Mittwoch im All warten. In Cape Canaveral ist inzwischen die Raumfähre Atlantis von ihrem Rendezvous mit der Mir zurückgekehrt. Schlechtes Wetter über Florida hatte die Landung um einen Tag verzögert. An Bord war auch der Astronaut Foale, der nach 145 Tagen im All von seinem Kollegen Wolf abgelöst worden war.
Last night, Foale and his fellow astronauts aboard the Shuttle Atlantis landed safely at the Kennedy Space Center in the U.S. state of Florida. After the landing, Michael Foale talked about his stay aboard Mir and described one of his significant accomplishments aboard the Russian space station.
Well, actually, this hasn't hit the newspapers yet, but they had a very, very laborious way of taking their messages from the control center over the packet radio. And it involved like an hour's process every night, printing all of the radiograms and messages out. So I thought, it's time someone put this in order. And I wrote a program that does that all for them.
So you wrote a
So
software
it saves
program?
about an hour, yeah. It saves about an hour for everybody every day.
Did they like it, your
Yeah.
cosmonaut friends?
I've got a little copyright notice there, then.
Well, during his 4.5-month drama-filled stay, Foale witnessed the Russian space station's collision with a cargo ship, as well as numerous power and computer shortages.
Nach ihrem Rendezvous mit der Mir ist die amerikanische Raumfähre zur Erde zurückgekehrt. Die Landung war wegen schlechten Wetters um einen Tag verschoben worden. Die Atlantis brachte den US-Astronauten Michael Foale von seiner Mission zurück. Foale, hier mit seiner Familie, hatte fast 5 Monate an Bord der Mir verbracht. Abdockmanöver geglückt. Der Besatzung der russischen Raumstation Mir ist es doch noch gelungen, den alten Progresstransporter abzukoppeln. Ein erster Versuch war wegen eines Bedienungsfehlers fehlgeschlagen. Morgen soll bereits ein neues Versorgungsschiff andocken. Es hat wichtiges Reparaturmaterial und einen Ersatzcomputer für die Mir an Bord.
Heavy rain triggered flash flooding and mudslides in Southern California. Floodwaters rose quickly in San Bernardino early Tuesday, some 96 kilometers east of Los Angeles. 4 people were stranded on a hillside. At least 2 have been rescued by emergency crews, and several dozen others were forced to evacuate their homes. U.S. astronaut Michael Foale is spending his first full day back on Earth after 4.5 months aboard the Russian space station Mir. Foale was met by his wife and children as he returned home on the Shuttle Atlantis late Monday, and Foale says he feels fine but did need some assistance to walk. He became visibly upset when asked about his Russian commander and the fallout from Mir's collision with a cargo ship in June.
To be really honest, one of the most memorable was when Vasily realized that he was not going to do the EVA and that he felt responsible for the whole accident, which I don't quite feel. No, this is too hard to talk about.
Я как-то раз с американцами просил их отремонтировать компьютер, маленький такой лэптоп.
The U.S. astronaut was replaced by the other astronaut, David Wolf. In the past hour, a Russian cargo ship successfully docked with the Mir space station, and with it come critical supplies, including a backup computer. CNN's John Hollowan is at Russia's Mission Control Center in Korolyov, just outside of Moscow, and joins us now with the latest. John.
Sonia, you know, when you and I talk and I'm at CNN Center, I get to see the same picture you do on television. Being in the room here where the docking is shown on live television to senior officials of the Russian government and Russian mission control and others, it's a lot more exciting. This room, this big screen behind me, was filled with pictures of the docking, and let me show you some of those pictures right now as I talk you through it. Vladimir Soloviev, who is the Mir flight director, says the docking tonight went perfectly. He just concluded a briefing in which he said everything was completely normal. During the docking, David Wolf was working in the Soyuz rescue ship just in case something went wrong, but nothing did. The crew was preparing at this moment to open the Progress and start grabbing bags of fresh fruits and vegetables that were sent up from Earth. As you know, they don't have much access to fresh food up there. Most of it's packaged, so they're going to be eating apples and cooking with onions probably by nightfall. The crew is also preparing for the next big event on Mir after they unload the major supplies that are on this Progress vehicle. They're going to try to do another internal spacewalk to go inside the Spectre module on about the 20th of October. And Flight Director Vladimir Soloviev says his crew is ready to do that, ready to get into the preparation phase to make it work. Sonia?
John, are there anywhere closer to pinpointing where the leak is on that Spectre module?
I think they know where it is. And one of the questions that wasn't answered here tonight is, how convinced are the Russians they're going to be able to absolutely seal that leak? It is at a point on Spectre where the damaged solar panel connects to the main body of the Spectre module. They did some tests right after the shuttle left. It flew around Mir, and they blew some debris, and it's now, they took very high-quality photographs of that. Those pictures have been analyzed, and they say the leak is probably where the astronauts and cosmonauts thought it was all along, at the point where that solar panel was bashed sideways and where it connects to the Spectre. And if that is the case, they've got something they can put over the leak on the outside of Spectre, and they have some gooey liquid they can put on the inside of Spectre to perhaps seal it on both sides.
John Holloman from the Russian Mission Control Center. Thanks.
A Russian cargo ship loaded with much-needed supplies has docked with Mir.
Wednesday's docking was the first to successfully use a new procedure that has failed during 2 previous attempts. The docking had been scheduled for Tuesday, but was delayed because Mir's crew had problems undocking a garbage-filled supply ship. The new cargo ship is carrying a spare computer and supplies including drinking water, oxygen, and fuel.
Ever wondered what a near disaster in space feels like? Just ask astronaut Michael Foale. In his first news conference since returning from 5 months aboard Russia's badly damaged Mir space station, Foale said it may surprise people, but he was having a good time most of the time. As for the frightening June 25th collision with that Russian supply ship, Foale said he didn't have time to think about dying.
I heard a thud. It seemed to be a long way away. I knew it was a bad thud and not a sound I expected to hear normally, and so I expected to hear or feel air rushing out of the station. That rush didn't actually happen. There was no rushing air out of my lungs, and so I knew immediately from that that we were probably in better shape for the time being than could have been.
Michael Foale says he's content right now to stay here on Earth with his family, but he says he'd like another long-term mission someday, either on Mir or the International Space Station.
How does it feel to be a survivor of a terrible accident in space? Ask astronaut Michael Foale, who returned just over 3 weeks ago from a 5-month tour of duty on the Russian space station Mir. In June, an unmanned Progress resupply ship slammed into Mir's Spectre module, cutting a hole in the side of the station. Now that he's home, the world is getting a chance to hear what happened firsthand. Remembering the incident itself, he says he knew there was trouble when he heard a thud. He expected to hear air rushing out of the station.
That rush didn't actually happen. There was no rushing air out of my lungs, and so I knew immediately from that that we were probably in better shape for the time being than could have been. And then pressure started to fall in my ears. It's just like when you're on an elevator going up in a building. And that was the sure sign that we definitely had a problem, that the air was leaking out.
Though long-term stays in space can lead to bone and muscle loss, Foale says he feels good.
I'm taking calcium supplements, for example, and drinking milk, which is always a good thing. But other than that, I don't even feel that decrement. I basically feel strong.
Foale got along well with his Russian crewmates, though it can be hard to live and work with 2 other people in close quarters over a period of months.
Psychologists have prepared us and warned us to be tolerant, to look for certain traits of irritation, and then try and work around them. And going in there knowing you have to make this work. It's like when you get married, I think.
And Foale says the U.S. can only learn from working with the Russians on Mir, even though the station needs a lot of work to keep it up and running.
One of the things I learned in this whole flight was that the Russians are so resourceful and resilient in just never, when they think they're at the edge, you suddenly find there's just a little bit further you can go.
Foale is in the process of fully briefing NASA on everything that happened during his nearly 5-month stay on Mir. For now, Foale is happy to be back with his wife and kids and hopes to get away for a family vacation, probably in the Bahamas sometime in November. Dick Wilson, CNN, reporting.
Well, he's not interested in another long-duration space mission anytime soon because it would take him away from his family. Foale says he would like to return to space again.
This is Shuttle Launch Control at T-minus 3 hours and holding, and we are standing by to have live TV of the crew and their suiting as they make preparations for launch this evening. At this time, everything continues to go back on schedule. We were a little late in getting our cryogenics loaded into the external tank due to some software problems in the firing room, but that's been resolved and tanking began about an hour late, but it has also just now completed. Also at the pad are the closeout teams for the astronauts. They'll be configuring the cockpit switches and making sure that everything is ready for the crew to ingress the vehicle. Crew, the 7 members of our flight team, are in their crew quarters making last-minute preparations, being suited for this mission. Jim Weatherby is being attended to. He has his helmet on. He, of course, is preparing for his, having served as pilot of mission STS-82 and commander of mission STS-52 and 63. That was the first special mission to rendezvous with the Russian space station. And his pilot is Mike Bloomfield, and he is preparing for his first shuttle mission. He is a graduate of the U.S. Air Force Academy, Master's of Science degree, Engineering Management, signed to NASA as an astronaut candidate in 1995. Mission Specialist Wendy Lawrence, the only female aboard this flight, making her second trip into space aboard the shuttle spacesuit. She was deemed too small and had to settle for the round trip. And as we move across, looking at another of our mission specialists. This looks like Scott Perezinski. He too was at one point considered to be a member of a Mir team, but he has since now been assigned to this flight as a member of the flight crew to make the round trip. The member of the team who will be going up and staying on Mir is Mission Specialist Dave Wolf, and this will be his second trip on the shuttle. Vladimir Titov also is a member of this crew. He will be making his second flight on the shuttle, but this is his fifth flight overall. He became a cosmonaut back in 1976 and served as commander of the Soyuz T-8 and T-10. He first flew on the shuttle on mission STS-83 in February of 1995 with his current commander, Jim Weatherby, of this mission. And it's hard to tell who these astronauts are with their helmets on, but that looked like it was Jean-Luc Chrétien, a member of our flight crew. Actually, he is the chief of the French astronaut office. Witnessing the crew departure are a number of KSC employees who have finished up their day and have decided to stick around for a couple hours to take some photographs of the 7 members of the STS-86 crew, being led by Jim Weatherby, followed by pilot Michael Bloomfield, mission specialist Vladimir Titov, Scott Perezinski, Jean-Luc Chrétien, Wendy Lawrence, and David Wolf.
Remain in orbit over 11 years, I think, is a testimony to how well the Russians understand what it takes to operate in orbit, and we need to be very mindful of that.
It looks like the pad has been cleared of all inappropriate personnel, as well as the personnel who are on the pad have been
Copy that. OTC or BCC? Go ahead. MS2 in at this time. Copy. Let's do a contact first. Air to ground 1, Atlantis, OTC, air to ground 1. How do you read? CDI loud and clear. PL2 loud and clear. MS1 loud and clear. MS2 loud and clear. MS3 loud and clear. MS4 loud and clear. MS5 loud and clear. I'll be going air to ground 2. Atlantis.
Atlantis Houston for the CDR and PLT comm check on air to ground 2.
CDI loud and clear. PLT loud and clear.
Atlantis Houston, have you loud and clear, configured for air-to-air.
This is Shuttle Launch Control at T-minus 1 hour, 2 minutes, and counting. And this is a unique view of our vehicle on pad 39A with the lights of pad 39B behind it. Pad 39B is currently undergoing a number of renovations and modifications, and will be used in the next several months from his standpoint, several thousand feet over the pad, that everything continues to look good from a weather standpoint.
we have the klaxon and
Based on that, this is Shuttle Launch Control at T-minus 20 minutes and holding with about 20 seconds remaining in our hold. As we come out of the hold, Atlantis' onboard computers will transition control at T-minus 20 minutes and holding with about 20 seconds remaining in our hold. As we come out of the hold, Atlantis' onboard computers will transition into the terminal phase of the countdown configuration. Inside Atlantis' payload bay is the pressurized Space Hab double module, which is being used to carry more than 6,000 pounds of science equipment and experiments into orbit. Also, food, clothing, batteries, and water is being transferred from Atlantis to the Mir, and that equipment is being carried up in the Space Hab. And we are T-minus 19 minutes and counting.
It's been a great flow for Atlantis. Thanks to all the folks who worked on the processing of the vehicle. What do you say we take her to space, Jim? Roger that. NPD, you're clear to launch. I copy. TLS is go for OAA retract.
The OAA, or the Orbiter Access Arm, is being retracted away. This is the walkway used by the crew to gain entry into and out of the vehicle.
Tail sights.
And it can be returned to position within seconds if need be.
Zaragoza has gone to a forecast broken deck. Your new TAL site will be Marone. That's site number 3. Nominal aim point, nominal speed break. The altimeter there is 29er. Winds are 050 at 4.
And we are receiving the signal from Mission Control in Houston to start the orbiter's flight recorders. These recorders collect measurements of shuttle system performance during flight. T-minus 2 minutes, 30 seconds and counting.
Get out in Atlantis, OTC, close and lock your visors, initiate O2 flow, have a good trip, bon voyage, shock Leva, and give our best to the Mir crew.
And everything continues to look good, and we are cleared for launch tonight.
That's in work.
No problems being reported from the vehicle or the crew. T-minus 2 minutes and counting.
TLS is go for ET LHT pressurization. Great. TLS is go for ET LHT pressurization. Okay, think fast, everybody.
And we have a go for auto-sequence start. Atlantis onboard computers have primary control of all the vehicle's critical functions. T-minus 20 seconds. T-minus 15. 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. We have a go for main engine. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition and liftoff of the Space Shuttle Atlantis, extending America's presence in space while opening new chapters in exploration.
Houston now control. Houston now control. Roll program initiated. Place Atlantis on its heads down track over the Atlantic. Our engine's throttling down now. 3 engines at 67. Atlantis moving at 1,000 miles per hour now. Altitude 8.8 miles, downrange 5.8 miles.
Atlantis, go at throttle up. Go at throttle up, and we'll go ahead at fuel cell Delta V also.
3 engines back at 104%. Now Atlantis moving at 1,600 miles per hour.
Atlantis, that is a deucer. Copy and concur.
3 good fuel cells, 3 good APUs, 3 engines running at 104%. Atlantis now moving up over 2,000 miles per hour, 18.4 miles in altitude, downrange 16 miles. About 15 seconds away from solid rocket booster separation. Atlantis moving at 2,800 miles per hour. Have solid rocket booster separation confirmed. Guidance converging.
Performance nominal.
Confirm main engine cutoff.
Atlantis, nominal MECO, ohms 1 not required. Okay, ohms 1 not required.
ET separation confirmed.
L3D failed out, Houston. We'll take no action for now. Good morning, Atlantis. It's time to do that delicate dance in the dark and dock with Mir.
I look in better place for me.
That goes to the docking time. The one they gave us, right? Yes. Thank you. Good one. One down. Okay.
Strange. There comes starting to correct the
Next.
$2,292. This is first.
Like when you go to eight.
We get an attitude.
Okay.
It looks like we're in attitude
Not
now.
yet. I'm showing 4 degrees now.
4 degrees.
Yeah.
I shot 4 degrees
ADI.
on our popper as well.
still in auto? Yes.
And I went back to A. Did you want to be in B?
It doesn't matter.
Okay. Okay, that's...
We're in attitude, right?
Let me look here. Point 2. It's just fly point 2 the rest of the way in. And try and stay on the fast side of point 2. In other words, let it bleed down to point 2 and then pump it up to like 0.24 and let it bleed down to point 2. And then when we get in closer, like 170 feet or so, then we can start playing the game at 0.17 to point 2.
Okay.
And got...
You're docking toward the docking.
We're docking toward the docking. 1.9. Say again?
Start now.
At point 2 until we get down to 110 feet, Jim.
And then we would stop at 30?
Yes. No, right now, if you didn't do any more pulses, you would stop in 30 feet. But if you
in 30 feet, on the iron.
После этого, значит, вот у нас сопы закрутятся, мы все введем, потом начинается проверка герметичности, и в принципе, американцы нас просили, и мы, наверное, сумеем. Вот ОПЛ сделать в зоне двух НИПов наших наземных, где-то в 0025, 0038.
That's when the window opens. That's 2 minutes into it. Right. That is 2 minutes into it.
Correct.
So it opens.
Correct. 149.
Pump it up, Jim. Now we're going to do the DAP closure here.
I open the space station.
Just don't touch me. Yeah, you can hold me a little bit. There we go. Oh, nice. Oh, now all you can see is the ring. This is neat.
Okay, 75 feet, closing 0.08.
Pump it up.
Good. 0.75.
What do you think? Floodlights off.
Leave the lights the way they are. Okay, the window opened a minute, 15 seconds ago, Jim.
Okay. Still have it in the range. I mean the flat, right?
Flat looks good.
Yeah, I'm not going to ask again.
Roll, you're happy with? Yeah, it's like...
Yeah, Bill, you should be getting an image now.
Go get it, Mike.
And when this one's done, I have another one of the centerline camera.
Well, we're sure not going to turn that off or down.
Contact capture.
Есть катание, есть
Nice shot.
захват.
Nice shot. Yo, buddy. Whoa, hey, whoa. Well done.
That's done, ребята.
Excellent. Waiting for damping to come on.
Yeah, it's 1 minute 15 seconds.
That was just awesome.
Good job.
It was huge. It was 3.5 and 4.5 in pitch.
Very smart. It's 100 feet.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I saw the roll at the same time. It's not that serious.
see, maybe our lighting conditions have been different than other crews have had.
Is it that down from here? That's,
Yeah.
see, it's a delta. That's the
Okay, what are we looking on the base there now, Jean-Louis? About 20. At 7%, we should see ready to hook light.
I see 16.
Atlantis, Mayor Houston, we're 5 minutes to hand over to Tidris East. We expect to be in blockage for the East Pass, and air-to-ground will be unreliable up until we come AOS Tidris West.
We have other presents for you, too.
Good to see you, buddy. How you been?
That's good. Are you? You okay? Bureaucracy now. Well, Houston, you cannot believe the number of times that several of us on board said unbelievable on our way up here, either with the scene, the views, the procedures we had, that just the fact that we were doing this, none of us can still believe it. And I just had a shock when I looked out the window over here and saw Atlantis. It took us a while to get to the Mir core module here, and I didn't realize how far away Atlantis was. We'd like to thank all of the people down on the Earth who, it's a tremendous amount of teamwork required to put something like this together, and we had discussions all the way up when we were in crew quarters and quarantine just before coming up regarding the procedures and what do we do if we have failures, and just both sides of the ocean worked on this flight for a long time, and we want to thank everybody who worked on it. We think this is a great crew, the 10 of us. There was a lot of discussion about the risk. We are here to tell you, all 10 of us, that we think the benefit far outweighs the risk, and that's why we're here, and we're really enjoying it. This is a great ship. I can't believe it. I saw it 2 years ago from 30 feet, which is not very far away, but it turns out it was really far away compared to the last 30 feet, and then coming all the way in to the Mir base block.
Сегодня Atlantis в очередной раз подошел к станции «Мир», экипаж выполнил великолепную стыковку. И сегодня продолжается программа «Мир НАСА», которая уже идет несколько лет. И мы очень рады, что шаг за шагом, и каждый этот шаг очень твердый и уверенный, каждый шаг ведет к новым выполнениям задач, которые ставятся экипажем в Москве и в Хьюстоне. Я хотел бы поздравить, во-первых, всех специалистов, которые готовили эти программы на Земле, и поздравить экипаж, который пришел сегодня на станцию «Мир». И мы уверены, и мы с большим энтузиазмом будем выполнять всю программу, которая будет запланирована нашим экипажем при совместной деятельности общего комплекса.
They're already hot, these and this is really good stuff. This is the best stuff you get.
Вкусная! Просто Дэвид очень хороший парень, я, говорит, я только Дэвид могу уступить. А так бы ни за что не ушел отсюда.
Не знаю, я спросил.
Извини. Спасибо.
Паша, ты его нашел, да?
Да, вот здесь он все. Хорошо. Да, я.
Побачим. Jim's trying to get back to the flight deck, I think.
Yeah. This is space hair the wrong way, so we'll go this way.
passing Florida today.
Now let's head up to Mirror. This is the docking module here. Coming up, it's the Crystal module. Incredible view down planet Earth.
Заход солнца. Красиво.
Atlantis Mirror Houston, good morning, and it's time for Scott and Volodya to go outside and have a good look at that wonderful world themselves.
What a wonderful world indeed, Chris. Yes, thank you very much. Dial not sound.
Okay, Wendy, we'll take a look at that.
Could you give us a little better description, a little more detailed description on what the latch itself looks like?
Okay, well, it's the lock unlock toggle on the safety tether wheel, and again, we don't have video because I could show you exactly what's going on here, but I was able to put it into the unlock position.
There's a battery sign.
Oh, fun!
Спасибо. Wow. Спасибо. Миша снимает-то. Деньги. Главный фотограф. Main фотограф. Окей. If you disconnect it, I'll turn it like 90 degrees down like this. Okay. Okay, but okay. Like this. Okay. Yes. Very slow. Okay.
That is starboard base 6, right, Mike?
Okay. Ready, short, and going out. Yes, released. Okay. Activировать. Turn around. Okay, Scott, I'm on my way. I'm ready to open. Hang on. Okay, you guys are 1 hour and 30 minutes into. Okay, thank you. Thanks. This side I did, another side no. I didn't picture. But another one. Yes, it's closed. But you guys. Oh. No, it is closed. No, it is. Yes. Зачем ты открыл? There it is. There it is. Зачем ты открыл? Fully closed. You push me. Okay. Are you here? I'm right here. Okay, good. Up a little bit higher in the docking module so that we can look you like that. Yeah. Okay.
This is Mission Control Houston. Again, this sequential still video being provided through the S-band communication system on Atlantis, showing astronauts Scott Parazynski and Vladimir Titov hauling up to and now affixing the 121-pound solar array cap to the side of the docking module.
How about if I come up to the forward bulkhead? That'll work better. Okay. Take your time. Okay. You guys are out 4.5 hours right now. Yes. Right now rotate to the left side. Okay. Rotate. Like that. There we go. Yes, it's here. Okay. What about close the door? We'll do that after the jet firing. Okay. Okay. After jet firing. I agree. I don't, It's supposed to be above the top of the It's the antenna. Подожди еще, мы еще не закончили. Scott, if you want to take a look at that TNG that's over there on the docking module, it's about halfway up. I see the little flop? Yeah. TNG? I don't know if, FT. Ready, Vladimir, you ready? Yes. Oh, here we go. Looked great, Scott. Yeah, it looked real nice, from this perspective too. It played pretty crisply and we had to grab it right away. The cutter came out without any problem either. Outstanding. That's great, хорошо. And Houston, Atlantis, do you have a downlink capability at this time?
Atlantis, Mirror Houston, yes we do.
Well, I'd like to show you the TMG on the docking module that was pointed out earlier. Vladimir tried to fix it. Looks good. Great, thanks. You got Lisa? Yes, that'd be great. Valeria, I'll take it from you here. Okay. And the tomatoes and eggplants are one. I can't wait. You got it? I got it, Valeria. Okay. You're all wrapped up in it, so... rotate left, right. Rotate to your right. Push it between your legs. What might work the best is if you were to go into the airlock. Okay. I would like to open it and thank Commander Anatoly Solovyev and Board Engineer Pavel Vinogradov for inviting us into their home for the last several days. They have been very gracious. They are a tremendous team. They work well together. They have taught us a lot, and we thank them for being so gracious. It requires an awful lot of teamwork to pull one of these missions together. To start with, of course, the rendezvous is not just the pilots or the crews, but all the folks on the ground and the tracking stations all around the world to get the precise navigation required. By the way, I feel very confident that had the Mir lost attitude control, we still would have been able to dock with the teamwork that we have and that we've developed over the last several years.
Somehow.
Bye-bye. Be careful on the ground. You get hurt down there.
Any talker, no chat to be at. Talker.
Thank you, Commander. It's been nice flying you, sir.
David. Good man.
Thanks for all the help. I can't say enough. You guys have been super.
Wonderful.
Спасибо тебе. Спасибо тебе.
Right. You get every time I shoot.
Заботит за тобой.
Jim, and one last one of these.
Пленка кончилась. Ну, счастливо, мужички.
Спасибо.
Good undocking morning to you, Atlantis Mir.
Thanks for that ELT.
Atlantis Mir, Houston, from the time you give a go to the Mir crew to put the pressure pulse inside the spectrum module, it takes about a minute and a half for that pressure to ramp up, so it may be that period of time before you would be able to see anything.
632.
It's 220 ET.
The window opens at 14:54 and closes at 15:03.
Yeah, but that's what we have, but he didn't say when we were supposed to undock.
We're supposed to try and get no loop.
Yeah.
Let's review what we have to do.
Yeah.
If you see
Pictures.
yeah, it's hard.
Undock. Are you sure it's on?
It's on.
Сейчас проверил, Ланец.
The tape's a little bit earlier than Bloomer.
Миша, привет.
3, 2, 1, mark. Okay, hooks, close, lights, moving, equating, gray, are they looking symmetric? Yeah. Excellent, okay.
Да, скорость на разделение Скорость на разделение 3 сантиметра.
Mobile H. Here comes a 4-hour pulse.
Метров.
19, 20 feet. Anything 1 degree tail down.
Okay.
Correct.
So you only have to hit us
29 feet.
Okay,
0.3. 30 feet.
Свет. 10 метров. Like a oyster fan. 507.
Okay. Sure you're probably a beat pulse away from stopping.
Yes, full diameter. What time are you full diameter now? Okay. In the full stop?
Maybe a little too much.
Значит,
I'm getting it, Jim. Don't worry.
This is
to the 64.
Надо идет сейчас.
Нет.
And Houston will collapse the dead band in 23 seconds.
Don't bump Mike.
Don't bump me.
Don't bump Mike.
Последний кадр, все.
Just tell Houston. You meant Roses.
Вот это да, довела жизнь. Да.
Wow. While you do your water.
Okay. What's a while of work? 7 minutes to the 2 different modes.
Again, it's like we're eating. Looks like we're not working at all, Lex.
He's just bored. He's watching the movie and eating the popcorn.
Sit down, buddy. Как можно будет отсосать воздух, потом еще разочек добавить.
Air data probes on Atlantis have now been deployed. Long-range cameras now picking up view of Atlantis as it continues to make its approach towards the Kennedy Space Center. Is that going to...
Guidance is, or the approach and land thing on the
Approach
HFI.
land scaling.
Okay, there's a runway in sight.
Bang.
I'm not going to call it though. And I have 2 white ones and 2 red ones. Lex?
Okay.
Awesome.
That was good.
I'm decluttering.
So
MI. Show you a little bit right. There you go.
Atlantis, Houston, for Bloomer, did you see any anomalies during your valve test?
Negative, Scooter. They all looked perfect.
Good job, Bloomer.
Beautiful. Okay, derotate 185. Show you going down at 1.5, 1.5, 1.5, 2. You're a little bit right of center line. Here comes the chute.